Hello, 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 everybody, and welcome to another adventure in history. And the crowd goes wild. Hope everybody has had a delightful day. I hope that your weekend went well. I hope that everything and all facets of life are treating you as best as possible in this crazy post-2020 world where things have changed and some things have just stayed the same. So, hello, Joey. Good to see you. Meh. Or meh. Eh. Hey, Figment. Good to see you. Goes wild as best she can while tired on a Wednesday. Yeah, that Dateline does crazy things to us, doesn't it? Because you are tomorrow for us. Hey, Kelly, good to see you. Yeah, it has. It's been an interesting weekend. I got to spend some time with KP. We went and hung out and did some stuff around the coast and got to catch up a little bit. It was really nice to see him. We only live about an hour away, but we don't get to see nearly as much of each other as we would like. I live about an hour away from Mac and a lab coat, and we don't see each other enough either. So it's always nice when I can get to hang out with friends. It's good to see them. So that's what I did Saturday, and Brittany spent some time camping over the weekend with some family members, and I sort of took Sunday as a mental break. Well, I did some cleaning and, just some stuff around the house, but it was a pretty good weekend. I got kind of down yesterday trying to write some stuff, and it just didn't work the right way and kind of worked myself into a thing, but I feel better today. Had to go to the grocery store, which was not so fun. Imagine like the most pathetic weak-limbed chicken dance you've ever had the misfortune to witness. That's about the wild I can muster right now. So walking up all of the hills at Perry and then getting to that big tomb at the top and then collapsing on the sarcophagi. Is that the level of wild you can imagine right now? Figment, I miss hanging out. You had more life then. Oh my gosh. Well, I hope everything is going all right. I know that you are probably getting ready to come back home. Are you going to come to Mississippi when you get back to the States? I would love to catch up and hang out if that's in the cards. So I do need to make one sort of announcement. Last time I was on stream, I debuted the new Tier 2 emote that we got, which is the White Tree of Gondor there. But I also changed all of the subscription badges. So if you are a subscriber, you get a little badge that's beside your name, shedding a tear or two. Hey, David. Hope you're having a good one, man. So, yeah, if you are a subscriber, you get a little badge. And the way that I have arranged them is that they are all historical landmarks. I have tried my best to pick ones that I think are what qualify as visually recognizable, and I have to have been there before. So prior to this organization, I only had 4 of them, and now I've added 2 more and changed the order of all of them. So they now start with... and they also go in reverse chronological order. So if you are a new subscriber, you get the newest landmark, and then the longer you hang around, the older your landmark is. So now they start with the Eiffel Tower, Rock 1, Stone 2, Boulder 3, and Solid 4. They start with the Eiffel Tower, which is now for 1 month. 2 month is the Arc de Triomphe. Well, I won't go through all of them, but I made a post about this in the Discord if you want to go check all that stuff out. So I am trying to keep up with. So Hagia Sophia used to be the newest one, or for number one. It is now the 3 month badge. So I had to move everything around. My personal criteria are making it a bit hard for me to find landmarks that are recognizable. They are indeed shifting sands. Was that the name of a level in Sonic the Hedgehog, shifting sands, or is it sifting sands? I can't remember. I mean, I love Sonic the Hedgehog. I haven't played that game in forever. So tonight we are... Listen. Rocks and dirt are fun and cool, okay? Especially when they're piled on top of each other to make homes and tombs and temples and things. Right? Okay, so... no, nobody asked for that. I have chosen a story for the next time that we do Summon the Adventure Hat, though. Anyway, so we're doing an adventure tonight. Yeah, and this is a viewer request stream. So this particular topic is one that Cave Geek Art spent the points to redeem, and he asked for Rasputin. Rasputin. But rocks and stone and soil individually, isolated and shrunk down to 32 pixels would be no fun. It's even less fun when it's 18 by 18 pixels, which is the tiny little one for mobile. So it's 18 and 36 and 72 are the ones for the badges there. And yeah, it can get a little hard to read. I did figure out that it was easier to read the more DPI that I used. The problem is that there is also a size of the file requirement, so you have to sort of finagle between the resolution, DPI, and the file size, which can get a little bit annoying. And anyway, it's all Photoshoppy, mumbo-jumbo, gibberishy stuff that took me about a day and a half to do. But that's part of the game, right? I try to make the place look nice when company comes over. So, yeah, we're talking about Rasputin tonight. We'll be restricting our Rasputin facts to non-Hellboy canon. Yes. So this is the actual human being Grigory Rasputin, not the Hellboy character. David's like flipping the table. Forget this garbage. Leaves. I do really love Hellboy. One of my favorite comics ever. For those of you that don't know, Rasputin shows up as a character in Hellboy and is fairly. Well, I don't want to give any of it away. But if you have not read Hellboy and you enjoy comics, or even if you don't like comics and you just like mythology and old stories and really well-paced storytelling, you should read Hellboy. It's great stuff, and the art is amazing too. It comes back to flip the table, leaves again. Cheers, David. Even if you hate everything, read Hellboy. Just regardless, just read it. All right. So, without further ado, I don't have any other announcements, so we can just sort of launch into the talk here. So, first off, there is this guy. His name is Grigory Rasputin. What's up with this dude? Why is he such a big deal? Why is he such a big figure? Why do we have disco songs about him? You gave me a flashback to the Hellboy 4 movie that used all the names of Arthurian legends and then just promptly murdered everyone. So that's not technically Hellboy 4. That's not even Hellboy 3. That's the Hellboy reboot. So there was the original Hellboy with Ron Perlman. There was Hellboy 2, The Golden Army, also with Ron Perlman. And then the most recent one is just called Hellboy, which was a reboot that has Dan Harbour, who is the sheriff from Stranger Things and played the Red Comet. If you've seen the recent Black Widow movie. I think his name is Dan Harbour. Is that right? Harbour is his last name. I can't remember exactly. I think it's Dan Harbour. Anyway, yeah. So the newest one is actually based on some of the stories at the end of the Hellboy run, and it took a lot of liberties from the comics. So if you didn't care for the movie storyline, that's okay. You are not going to have very much spoiled. There's some stuff that gets spoiled if you want to read the comics, but the comics are much better and much more coherent of an arc. I'll just put it that way. You don't remember which one it was, but your friend sat through the whole movie watching me having a breakdown every 2 minutes. I usually love the Hellboy movies, so this one threw me off. They tried to do a lot of different stuff that is set up over a very long period of time in the comics, and they tried to condense it down to one movie where it should have probably been at least 2. Maybe 3. I don't know about 3. Maybe 2 really nice chunks of movie. Which is why it felt sort of like they were fast-forwarding through some scenes. And it wasn't bad. You just needed to have read Hellboy before you watched that movie so that you understood all of the stuff and how it sort of connected together. And even then, again, it didn't follow the comic directly every single step of the way, so you kind of had to still put some stuff together. The comics helped, but it was a bit of an editing mess. Visually, it was beautiful. I loved the style. I know that some people had issues with a bit of the over-the-top CG stuff, but I mean, it's a movie with giant demons and pig demons and a guy with the right hand of doom. It just let it go, right? In case you missed it further, back in the chat, you'll be in Mississippi the 3rd week of October and plan to meet up with professors. Oh, cool. Awesome. Thank you. That's awesome. Yeah, I'll hopefully... I don't know what's going on then. That's during the school year. I'll have to look to see what's up. I can't think that far ahead at the moment. All right, Rasputin. Who is this guy? What's going on? What's the deal? All right, so Rasputin is born into a very, very poor serf family. Now, I guess I shouldn't technically call them serfs because at that point, he was born in 1869. By that point, there had been some reforms that had supposedly freed the serfs. It's sufficient to say that this guy was born into a dirt poor peasant family. His family made money mostly from his father's work. They did some horse breeding. His father was also a courier for the government. They lived in the middle of this very small city in Siberia. City's probably not even the right word. Town is a better word. And where's my there we go. There's my window. He's born in this little village called Pokrovskia, which is right here. This is in the middle of Siberia. It is very remote. It is very far from any other center of habitation. And his father made some money sometimes, basically ferrying official documentation from his little region to the next little region. But overall, Rasputin was born into a very, very poor family. And Pokrovskia was a very, very small city that had a telegram office only part of the way through. So by the time that he was a young adult, they had put in a telegram. But even in the period that he was born, they didn't really have a lot of communication. Of course, they didn't have what we would consider modern amenities. There's no electricity there. There's no running water there. Hey, Finesse, good to see you. Yeah, I was wondering how long it was going to take before we got to the Boney quote. Hellboy 2 was just horrible, you think, you saw it, and then the next memory is me, and then the girlfriend outside the cinema complaining about it. Fair enough. So, he's born into this little city. His dad doesn't have a lot of money. His family doesn't have a lot of money. And what is he to do? Well, I guess I should also show you this. This is the guy that we're talking about. This is Grigory Rasputin. He's born again in 1869. This is a picture of him when he's significantly older, in his mid to late 30s. I'm doing okay though, Finesse. How are you? It's good to see you. Hope everybody in your world is doing well. I can't. His family was having it pretty rough. He had 7 siblings that were born prior to him. They all died before reaching even what we would consider to be like late childhood. So they're all dying usually around like 2, 3, 1. Some of them died not too long after their births. There is some speculation that his family had a daughter after Rasputin. That would be basically Grigory's younger sister that survived, but there's not really a lot of documentation about this. And I guess I should pause to say, we don't know a lot about this guy until he was well on in his age. There are tons and tons of stories about his life, especially from his childhood. There's all these stories about him, like healing horses by touching them, or having very public fist fights, or standing in public and committing blasphemy, which was a crime under the Eastern Orthodox Church at that point. Significantly older than newborn is that pic. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Hey, Sci-Fi, good to see you. So there's a lot of myth that has been sort of accreted onto Rasputin as a character. Whether or not some of this stuff is true is debatable. A lot of it, though, is pretty clearly just false. For example, there are lots of rumors that were started about him that basically made him some sort of juvenile delinquent. So back in his little hometown, there are all these rumors about horse thieves, or being a horse thief, getting into fights, trying to beat up officers of the law, being drunk in public, all sorts of stuff like this. There aren't really that many actual reports that have made it into the books. And one of the things about the Russian bureaucracy is, goodness knows, they keep paperwork on everything. So one would think that if he had been such a juvenile delinquent, a lot of this stuff would have been recorded in the local bookkeeping. It's just not there, though. Wasn't he Russia's greatest love machine? Junk, that is debatable to the degree of which he was a love machine, but the fact that he was a love machine is not a myth. And we'll talk about that substantially when we get there a little bit later on in the discussion. So there's a lot of sort of mythology that had been sort of cooked up about Rasputin from when he was a kid. Voting him references made too. Hey, Cave, good to see you. So what do we know? We know that he was born to a poor family. We know that his father was involved with raising horses. We know that his father sometimes was a government courier. We know that he almost certainly did not have any sort of formal education. Being so remote at that time and being so poor at that time, he almost certainly had no education. And it is almost certain that he did not know how to read and write until much later on, until the 20s, his 20s. So why then is there so much mythos about this guy as a kid? Why are there these stories from people that say, oh, I went to his hometown and I talked to this person that said that as a young child he could look at you and determine what you were thinking? Well, I mean, just to be honest, The guy became a larger-than-life figure, and if he was from your hometown, of course you're going to make up stories, right? If you go to any city today that has any sort of famous person or cultural landmark, there are going to be people there that have weird stories about them, right? So like if you go to Philadelphia and you go to one of the two big Philly cheesesteak competitors, right? And you go into one of them, you're going to see all of these pictures of these famous people that have come to this location to eat Philly cheesesteaks. And you're going to hear all these stories about, oh yeah, this is President so-and-so, and he said that this was the best cheesesteak he ever eaten. Did that really happen? Maybe. You know, people make stuff up because it makes them feel more important. Also, Rasputin is a weird dude, so it's pretty easy to make stuff up and have it believed. His education was how to take care of horses in the farm. That's what he learned. Yeah, pretty much. Like, here's how to run a farm, and here's how to take care of horses, and here's how to get drunk in public. In a tiny town, someone knows everything happening and your thoughts on them. How odd, right? Right? The Apple Store was Abe Lincoln's favorite, right? Right? I would say that it was probably also George Washington's favorite because he chopped down the cherry tree, right? You know, we don't have any stories like that in the United States, right? You know what I'm talking about. Is that we will talk about the love machine in a jar. we will get there. Let's let us move chronologically and not get ahead of ourselves. You guys are awesome, by the way. I knew this one was going to be fun. I was not aware that so many people had so many ideas about this guy already. This is why we can't have nice things, because stuff happens. All right, so by the time we get to 1887, Rasputin is going to do a little bit of traveling around his little regional area, and he's going to meet a young lady named Praskovia, who is the lady in the photograph here. So here's Rasputin, and this is his wife, Praskovia. I can type this. Praskovia. So they get married, as you do when you fall madly in love with each other, and they have lots of kids. Unfortunately, very similar to the situation that Rasputin was in with his siblings, a lot of his kids did not survive. And let's remember that these are times, even though they're very recent in history, you know, we think sometimes about this stuff and it's less than 200 years ago or fewer than 200 years ago, and we think, oh, that's not really so long. But the advances of science that we have today are so rapidly changing. People in the 1880s, which was really only 140 years ago, I should say it that way, they did not have the same level of hygiene that we do. And these people, again, are living in really poor areas, really far isolated in the middle of Siberia. Well, you can't tell me that Don Bluth's Anastasia wasn't a documentary. Well, I can say that Rasputin could not conjure green fire, and that there were no talking bats. So if that hurts you, junk collector, I apologize. Blasphemy! Flipping tables. Lies! It's iconic, but not for the historical accuracy. This is correct. Not for the historical accuracy in the least. So, anyway, he gets married. He has 7 children with his wife, Praskovia. Wait, does that mean that there aren't bats that sound like Robin Williams in the rainforest? No, there aren't. There aren't bats that sound like Robin Williams in the rainforest. And it turns out that white people aren't magic, and they can't automatically fix your problem if you are at a lower level of civilization, according to them. It's crazy. I know. That is honestly the most adorable table flipping emote I've ever seen in my life. Oh my gosh. That is completely adorable. For the dancing bears and painted wings and the bat that would make my best friend if I could. Yes. Snow like Holmes, good to see you. You just got here. What are we talking about, chat? We're talking about Rasputin as a person, but we're talking about the particular Don Bluth movie, Anastasia. White people can't even be in the sun for too long without putting their life in peril. Yet they can save the Fern Gully, and they can save the samurai, and they can save the Plains Native Americans, and they can save the Na'vi. Yeah, and Pandora. They can save the Na'vi. Old Awa, she could see his heart. She saw Jake Sully. I see you, Jake Sully. All while not speaking a word of their native language. Yeah, of course. No, don't speak the native language. Of course not. Anyway, let's I realize that I indulged that tangent. I will now try to get us back on track. So after his kids are born, he has 7 kids. Only 3 of them are going to survive. 2 girls and a boy. And here they are outside of Rasputin's father's farm, where he was still living even after he got married. So here are his daughters and his son. Good old Rasputin. Family man. He's just having a tough go of things, right? Well, what happens? Shut your mouth, Kevin Costner. Toast believable is an important part of a tribe. 1800s rural, a time before nail clippers and nail files. How are they still alive after 20? Techman, I don't know. Luck. Stick-to-itiveness. Also, hey, Techman, good to see you. Hey, KP, I didn't say hey to you. Hey, Snowlock Holmes. Haven't seen you in a while. Good to see you back. Hope everything's going well. Did I forget to say? Junk, did I say hello to you? I apologize if I didn't, but I will say hello again if I did not. Hello, Junk Collector. Good to see you. Okay, just trying to make sure that I say hey to everybody. I'm glad you all are here. You were here the last middle stream, right? I recognized your name. I just knew that it had been a while since I've seen it pop back up. But good to see it. Hope you're having a good one. You didn't say hi to me. You just dropped snark. Hey, dropping snark is the correct way to enter a Twitch chat. Dropping a bad pun, dropping snark, saying something sarcastic, all of these things are perfect ways to enter the conversation. They were lucky. They didn't step on a nail and get gangrene. Correct. All of these things are... They did not get kicked by a horse. You know. So he has 3 kids, but somewhere around 1888, 1889, he starts having these unsettling feelings, Rasputin does. Last time you think you were here, it was about Tom. We almost certainly talked about Tom Bombadil. I doubt that the whole stream was on him. We have not had one specifically about Tom Bombadil yet, but I do believe that at the end of the last one, we got into a discussion about Tom Bombadil. Just as mythical as this conversation. So he's going to start doing a little bit of traveling, and this is going to be mostly done to local, regional places of pilgrimage. The Eastern Orthodox Church has a lot of holy sites across Russia. These would be either small chapels, monasteries, locations where certain things are supposed to have happened, places where you were going to go and encounter the divine. These are places where you're going to go get close to God. And as he is making these pilgrimage trips, he really starts to feel like he is being kind of called to this. And apparently at one point, and this is in a little bit of a dispute, some people say, or some historians have some evidence that suggests that he claims that he had a vision of the Virgin Mary, who sort of chose him to be a religious holy figure. Now, this is going to draw him closer and closer to other religious locations, and he's going to end up in a little monastery in a regional city where he has a kind of a big conversion event. So he goes to this monastery. It's the St. Nicholas Monastery. It's in this little city called Verkhoturya, which we don't necessarily need to talk about. But while he's at this monastery and meeting with these people that are the abbot and some of the monks there, he has this big conversion moment where he feels like he needs to dedicate his life towards being a better person. So he is going to take a lot of sort of big steps in his life. He's going to probably learn how to read and write at the monastery. It seems like he spent quite a bit of time there. We don't actually know how long he spent there or even exactly what year he was there. This is likely sometime in the either late 1880s or early 1890s. He also could have made multiple trips there, and some of the things that happened at different stories have been sort of combined. Again, we don't know a whole lot about his life at this time. But we do know that he learned how to read and write sometime around this point, and he started making all of these big decisions. For example, he decided that he was going to become a vegetarian. He was going to give up eating meat, and he was going to eat very simple diets. He also decided that he was going to stop drinking at this point. And he was going to be a very sober man and a very pious individual, and never too late to pursue that education. It isn't. It isn't. No one is too old to learn stuff, right? And learning is a lifetime experience. The dumbest you will ever be is when you say, I know everything. Just keep learning. It's good for you. It makes you a better person. So he gets back home after this trip to this monastery, and at this point he is going to start going out, not necessarily on pilgrimages, but he's going to start going out doing what he calls ministry work, where he will go to people's homes and he will pray with them, he will bring them food if he is able, and it's during this time that he starts getting the sort of reputation for being a holy man, somebody that was very devout, very pious, very serious about his devotion to his faith. And it's also during this time that we start seeing the first potentially credible claims that people had health episodes that he was able to help them through. Now, did he have mystical healing powers? We can all be as skeptical as we want to about that, right? What was his faith? He was in the Eastern Orthodox Christian Church. Never too late to pursue your dreams like becoming Russia's greatest love machine. Maybe some dreams should die before they begin. Well, maybe. If you're not dreaming about genocide, if you're dreaming about genocide, you should totally not do that. So he's going to go start doing some local ministry. And people start really kind of looking at him as a leader in the local religious community. So what are you to do? Well, he starts holding religious ceremonies. Well, they're not technically official religious ceremonies because he makes it very clear that he's not in the clergy. He is not an actual church leader. He's just a person trying to help other people, right? So he starts having these prayer meetings down in his father's root cellar. And this is where things are going to start getting a little suspicious. We'll just say it that way. When he starts leading these root cellar prayer meetings, there are going to be some reports that come out of them of some odd practices. Is there any mysticism in the Eastern Orthodox Christianity? Yes. Yes, there was. There was sufficient mysticism, and it should also be remembered. Well, I guess you might not remember it if you haven't been in every single stream that we've ever done here, so I apologize for saying dumb stuff like that. But one of the things that it is important to think about during this general period of time, this late 1800s, early 1900s period of time, is that mysticism was really, really big. There was this movement called Theosophy, which is sort of like mixing hidden knowledge with religion and blending lots of different religions together to find the truth. There were lots of big movements of Theosophy. There were all these people publishing books that were supposed to contain hidden knowledge, especially from the East, that being Asia. Anyway, there was this sort of zeitgeist of mysticism going on anyway. So Rasputin showed up at exactly the right time to sort of capitalize on what was already happening in a lot of European and Asian cultures. Black is sus. Never go into a stranger's root cellar unless he offers you candy or a prayer. Is this tied into the crazies that ground up mummies into healing powders? Similar, yes. The mummies is healing thing is very much part of this larger movement called Orientalism, where people in Europe had gone to places like Egypt and India and the Middle East and had begun doing archaeology, and people were discovering all of these things from the lost times in the past, and everybody was super fascinated with all of this stuff that was going on that people didn't know about, this lost knowledge of the ancients. So there was a lot of movement in that circle of Orientalism that sort of bled over into this movement of Theosophy. But yeah, that's a great thing to sort of tie in right there, sci-fi. That's a great one. I need to know things. I need to know more than most. I need to know something. Gnosis. There we go. Every fiber of my being says, no, this is how I get unalived. So yeah, he starts having these meetings down in the cellar, and there are going to be some local priests that start getting really suspicious of what's actually going on down there. And they start asking people, like, what is Rasputin doing down there? What is he actually doing? And some people won't talk at all. Some people will say, oh, he's just a great person, leave him alone. And some people, of course, will tell lies, and some people will tell half-truths. But during this time period, there are all of these allegations that he had started doing some sort of weird practices. For example, one of the allegations was that he was having people whip themselves. This is called flagellation. And it's actually quite common in some very, very strict Christian sects where you literally punish your flesh for your sin by whipping yourself in the back or on the legs. And they say, oh, he's down there and he's getting all these people to whip themselves. Stop eating the mummies. Cannibal flavored medicine is bad. Just say no. Funny how little things change. Right? Well, I mean, we're still people, right? And there were other kind of weird claims that one of the things that he would have people do before he sort of led these prayer services was that he would have the people coming to the prayer service ritually bathe him. Which is kind of a thing. If you look at some versions of Christianity, there is this thing of, you wash the feet of those as a symbol of service, but the whole concept of bathing you that's not really something that's there. Anyway, there are all these allegations. We don't really know if any of this stuff was true, but we do know that the local religious leadership inside of the region was getting really, really uncomfortable with what he's going on and what he's doing. You need a throw up emoji. I think there might actually be a throw up emoji if you go down into the global ones. So he's going to have to start traveling a little bit further away to sort of get recognized. And by the early 1900s, he had enough people that were talking about his ability to heal, and there were enough people to talk about his really good advice giving. He was frequently called in to sort of mediate local disputes and give people advice and pray with people. This was going to get him an introduction to a religious leader in St. Petersburg, specifically the leader of the St. Petersburg Seminary. So this is where people would go to study the Catholic faith. St. Petersburg, of course, at the time was the center of Russia. This is where the Tsar lived. This was the capital city, right? Local priest question: "You are the worst spiritualist I've ever heard of." But you have heard of me. Yes, correct. So he goes to St. Petersburg, and this is again sometime in the early 1900s. It's hard to know exactly when because it's pretty clear he made a couple of trips. And again, documentation is really hard to find. So sometime between about 1903 and about 1905, he is going to spend at least a couple of trips of several months duration in St. Petersburg. And from where he is to St. Petersburg is a long way. So he's over here. Well, here's his little capital, here's his little hometown, and St. Petersburg is over here. So, I mean, he's going pretty far away. This is a trip of quite a distance. You're not just going to, hop over. He's going to have sponsors. He's going to have letters of introduction from people to talk to these big wigs in St. Petersburg. But when he gets to St. Petersburg, he's going to fall in with the right crowd. And this movement, here, I'll type it here. This movement of theosophy had become the vogue, right? That was one expensive Uber. Camelbur. I don't think the Uber would have taken you that far. This involved multiple trains. But what we're talking about here is when he gets to St. Petersburg, the people there, especially the young people of the moneyed class, so the people that had disposable income, the people that could do things like party and hang out, they were very frequently going to salons. And this is not like a salon where you go get your hair done. This is basically like a bar where you go hang out and you talk. This was a talking pub where you go drink and you talk about philosophy and you talk about politics and you talk about economics and ethics and all of these heavy, weighty topics. And Rasputin gets into the salon groups. And he makes salon. No, it's spelled the same way. It's just S-A-L-O-N. It's always the bored rich kids, right? So here we go. Here we have Rasputin hanging out with a whole bunch of his people. Look at all my people. Oh, saloon. No, not a saloon. Much fewer instances of getting shot in a salon. So anyway, they were already these people, these young movers and shakers were already super fascinated by this concept of theosophy already, because again, it was the vogue thing that everybody was doing. So here comes this weird monk-esque person from Siberia that claims to be a healer, that claims to be able to predict some of the future, that claims to have hidden wisdom. And boy, do they take to him like crazy. They just love this guy. And when Rasputin starts going to the salon, he meets some local aristocrats who put him up. So basically he's living in their house for free while he's there. And they are introducing him to all of the people. And there were a lot of important people living in the capital city. He's meeting the young people that are going to be the next generation of Russian leadership. Basically, the children of like the finance ministers and the war ministers and the economics ministers. Did times really suck? At that time in Russia, for most people in Russia, yeah, times were pretty bad. Now, in St. Petersburg, for these aristocratic elite, things weren't so bad. They practiced a lot of capitalist policy. There was a growing middle class in St. Petersburg. Now, the Tsar, the leadership was still pretty much what we would call a totalitarian or an absolutist monarchy. But the people that were living in St. Petersburg had money. They lived a very metropolitan lifestyle. They were very much in tune with what was going on in places, like London and Paris and Milan and Rome. They had contacts with people all over the United States, all over the world. They had telegram offices. They had electricity. When that stuff came around, they had running water. St. Petersburg was a very modern city for that time, but it was not typical of most of the rest of Russia. Are there times when times in Russia don't suck for most people? That's a good question, Cave. I don't think the answer to that is yes. I feel like people fall for this stuff more when times are rougher. Well, to kind of put this into perspective, this was also a time of great change. And to adopt some of these ideas was actually being done to sort of buck the system, right? They were coming out from a very stodgy kind of Victorian atmosphere, and they were moving into a brighter technological future. And this was the sea change moment where the young people were going to, that with their knowledge, they were going to be the ones that were going to change things, right? So they were looking for their answers wherever they could find it. And if they could say, oh, well, we're just going back to the way that things actually were. We're bringing back the old knowledge. The old knowledge that all of you stuffy Victorian Enlightenment thinkers pushed away. We're bringing it back. We're bringing back the good knowledge stuff. Too bad Nikki was just a terrible ruler and had little desire even to do it. I know you don't like Nicholas. I think you ride Nicholas a bit too hard. Nicholas did a lot of what he could. He was not the best leader ever. He was also not nearly as bad as, I would say, he was in the top 10% of Russian leaders in history for actually giving a crap. And that says something. But he's with the rich kids. For them, it's probably not terrible, even if it's a rough time. Oh, yeah, no. Like, Rasputin is living it up. And it's pretty clear at this time that the whole I'm not going to drink anymore goes out the window. And the whole I'm not going to, eat meat anymore, that goes out the window. Dude learns how to party, right? He has discovered the rave scene, and he's all into the glow sticks. He falls into the salon culture like a fish going into water. This guy just loves St. Petersburg, and he loves the attention that he gets. He loves the ability that he has to sort of manipulate people. So sort of a social revolution of sorts. In a way, yes. This is the beginning of what turned into the basis of the Roaring Twenties, if that makes any sense. For the Roaring Twenties to happen, people had to spend a little bit of time shaking off the stodginess of the late 1800s. Old knowledge. Yeah, you can see your sources? No, you can't see my sources, because my sources are that German guy that dug something up in Turkey said that this was a swastika, so therefore ancient people use swastikas, therefore Nazis. And I am literally not joking. That is literally how the swastika became the symbol of the Nazi party. Heinrich Schliemann dug up a whole bunch of Mycenaean pottery that had a swastika on it. He said, look, ancient knowledge. And then people in Germany started saying, we have the ancient knowledge, and using the swastika.
I'm Spartacus! I'm Spartacus!
I'm Spartacus!
I'm Spartacus! I'm Spartacus. I'm Spartacus. I'm Spartacus. I'm Spartacus. I'm Spartacus.
Let's see those Spartaci in the chat. Vern, thank you so much, my friend. 11 months. Yeah, I know, man. It doesn't seem like that long. It seems like just yesterday I was a kind of wet behind the ears little streamer here. Man. Vern, thank you for being here since literally the beginning. I appreciate that, man. I really, really do. You're not writing him, you generally feel bad for him. You were saying that from a dude really didn't want this whole thing. Oh yeah, he totally did not want to be a ruler. Yeah. And I'm all grown up now. Let's not go that far, sci-fi. I don't know if I'll ever be all grown up. Anyway. So, of the people that Rasputin is running into, he runs into these sisters that are referred to as the Black Princesses. And here they are. This is Militia and Anastasia of Montenegro. So Montenegro at this point was not an independent country. These two are both princesses from Montenegro that married into the Romanov dynasty. This is the ruling family of Russia. So these are basically, they're going to marry effectively princes of Russia. So they are going to potentially have heirs that potentially could be in the line of the royalty. Now they're called the Black Princesses, partially because there's this whole concept of like Black Slavs that aren't black by skin, but are... Anyway, there's this whole thing about Montenegro. By the way, for those of you that are not familiar with Montenegro, let me throw on my modern borders. Where are my borders? There we go. Boom. So this country right here is Montenegro. Well, I'm doing that thing again. Okay, here we go. Montenegro. Right here in the Balkans. Montenegro was really closely associated with Russia for one big reason, and that was that the Montenegrins were Slavic. And the Russians, of course, had at that time this whole fascination with becoming the protectors of Balkan Slavs from the ravages of the evil Ottoman Empire. Going back in time and confiscating the pottery and sending the guy to art school, you're taking the other high-level ones and spreading them all across the country in tiny rural towns. Valid question. Were the princes their cousins or of some version related? Yes. They were not direct cousins, but the Montenegrin royal family had previously married into the Romanov dynasty, but it was not in the direct ruling line. The Black Princesses... either their mother or their grandmother was a cousin of the Romanov ruler. So they were marrying like third cousins. But in European royal marriages of the time, a third cousin is basically like not even related at all, right? So, yeah, the Black Princesses were pretty big in the... You'll contain your surprise. So the Black Princesses were pretty big in the salon culture. They were part of this larger theosophy movement. They had a lot of clout being married to princes of the Romanov family, people that were really high up ranking in the Russian government. Those Black Princesses are still hot right now. They really were. They were the big deal at the time. And when they met Rasputin, oh man, they just loved this guy. And this was sort of like a turning table moment. When he met the Petrovigniegos, this was like a big deal. They were already big in the occult. They had already met with a lot of people that claimed to be mystics from Siberia. And man, Rasputin was like right up their alley. He was a legitimate Russian He was way out in the middle of nowhere. Again, he looks like Rasputin looked. I mean, the dude is very imposing. And he was already running in their circles. And it's during this period of time, somewhere in the 1904-ish period, that the Black Princesses are going to make an introduction between Rasputin and this young lady. This is Alexandra, the Tsarina of Russia. Now, rumors are that Rasputin was pretty good in the proverbial stick. Yeah, that's the prevailing thought there, Vern. Now that's a hat, right? I mean, it's a crown. So yeah, this is easily level 10 hat, easy. Sorry, I'm getting a drink of water here. So yes, this is Alexandra, and she is the Tsarina, Alexandra Fedorovna. Now, you stepped out for a second. What happened to the dude's wife and kids? Oh, they're still back in the hometown. He kind of just leaves them there. Yeah. Yeah, just kind of leaves them there. So, Alexandra Fedorovna is the Tsarina. Now, a little bit about her. She was of German descent. She had come from a sort of lower level German nobility family that gives you plus 1,000 on charisma and control 1/3 of the planet. Crown hat, it sits on her head. Something like that. So she had come from this German family. She was not in the German ruling family line. So she had been very... she's very insecure about her family origin. She did not really fit in that well. There was this sort of party atmosphere in St. Petersburg that she didn't really fall in line with. She was a very sort of prim and shy individual, and these Russian parties would get really, really out of hand. She didn't like the way that the ladies in Russia dressed, especially that they were showing way too much neckline. She did not like the fact that there was pretty frequent adultery going on, and that it seemed like everybody was kind of okay with the adultery stuff. To be fair, thanks to Elizabeth, to Victoria, most of Europe was German. Well, Victoria did have lots of kids, and Nicholas, the Tsar, I mean, I guess I can go ahead and show you this guy, but I was going to show him to you a little bit. So here's Nicholas. Well, that's the break screen. So this is Nicholas, who is the Tsar of Russia, Nicholas II. All right. Anyway, he's a stud. Well, he takes good pictures. So, yeah, Alexandra did not get along very well. She didn't have very many friends. She didn't know Russian very well. It took her a long time to learn Russian, but the crazy thing about it was that the official language of the court in Russia was actually French, but she didn't know French either. She knew German and English, and that's all that she really knew. So she could kind of get by with French, but she didn't really know Russian that well, so she had fewer friends until she learned. He looks a bit tired and dignified, but tired. It's having weird photos. I'm used to coinage. Yeah, I know. It is like when we get to the modern era and I can actually show you exactly what these people looked like. It's kind of weird. So anyway, she didn't fit in very well. And to boot, she had been having a lot of problems with producing an heir. She had 5 girls and 2 miscarriages prior to producing her first heir. And every time she had another daughter, the media inside of Russia just made her more and more the enemy. So she didn't fit in very well. A lot of people thought that her shyness was a kind of an aloofness, and she didn't really help that by being insecure about her title. So she demanded that everybody follow the rules for the empress. So like if somebody was lax on the pageantry, she'd get all over their case. Poor baby, it's hard to settle into a new home and language and then add all of that pressure and bad press. Yes, pretty much always sucked to be a woman. Probably true in most cases, yes. So she has a daughter, and and to be fair, Nicholas seems to have really been a good doting father that loved his kids regardless of the fact that it was daughter and then daughter and then daughter and then daughter and then daughter. By the fifth daughter, it had gotten to the point where the media, the newspapers, were calling her cursed and saying that the fact that she was not able to produce a son was literally a curse from God, that he had cursed her for being evil, and that Nicholas needed to divorce her and send her back to wherever she came from. Remember that time Rasputin fused with Ashtaroth and fought off half a Japanese shapeshifter, a vampire wrestler, and a mystical wolf, and Geppetto. Just you then? Yeah, Finesse, I don't remember that one. It sounds like a pretty decent anime, though. Something in the Fate series, maybe? In Reformation England, that would have gotten you branded a traitor. Yeah, pretty much. So she was having a bad time already. Enter Rasputin. And the Black Princesses, Militia and Anastasia, introduce Alexandra to Rasputin, and they say, this guy can help you. This guy can give you advice. This guy can be your friend. He's very affable. He's got this sort of gravity about him. He can be your confidant. And it gets along really, really well. And then comes sort of this pivotal moment. In 1907. Eventually, Nicholas and Alexandra do have a son, the last of their children, and his name is Alexei. Close, a JRPG called Shadow Heart's Covenant. Okay, well, I wasn't far off. I've never heard of Shadow Heart's Covenant. What system was that from, Finesse? Just looked that up, and it was a PS2 game. Thank you, KP, for anticipating my need to know what system that came out on. Shadow Heart's Covenant. There were so many PS2 games that didn't make a big splash in America because they never really got pushed. This is still somewhat on the cusp of Japanese RPG makers not thinking that RPGs made sense to America because Americans were too dumb to understand RPGs. Anastasia was a party member in the game. Oh, well, there we go. It's like you know me. Right? Shadow Heart's Covenant. All right, KP, thanks, man. So anyway, here is Alexei. Bright-looking kid. So there's a problem with Alexei. And that problem is that Alexei had hemophilia. And at this time, hemophilia was not very treatable. And like he had some serious situations with him. Like when he was born and they cut his umbilical cord, he bled out of his navel for days. To the point that he lost a significant portion of his newborn blood from the umbilical cord being cut. And he had always been sort of handled with eggshells, these people are putting bubble wrap around this kid. But in 1907, there's going to be, is that supposed to be 04 or 14? Because 24 is like 3 years from now. So anyway, in 1907, there is a moment where Alexei has this hemophilia moment. He gets a cut and he won't stop bleeding. And the doctors keep trying to do stuff and they keep trying to figure out what's going on, and they can't try to, they're trying to treat him. And in this moment, Alexandra calls Rasputin in. And she says, "Can you do something to help my child?" And he says, yes. Let me see the child. So he goes in and he prays over this kid, and suddenly, like almost overnight, by the next day, Alexei is better. And at this point, Alexandra and Nicholas are sold that Rasputin actually has a direct conduit between him and God. Like, this guy is the real deal. He saved our son. The doctors couldn't fix the kid. Rasputin comes in. The next day, our kid's better. This guy's the real deal. Now, here's the thing. This does not go over very well with... that's what they call it back then. Cave. We'll get there. We are getting there. So, this moment where Rasputin is held up as has fixed the heir, the Tsarevich. He has healed the child. This makes him both fascinating and massively unpopular, because when he gets into the good graces of Alexandra and Nicholas, he's going to start giving them advice. And here's the thing. He's not really that good at giving advice. Most of the nobility think that he's a hack. Most of them try their best to get Alexandra and Nicholas to get rid of this guy. And the nobility even start trying to get the secret police to investigate him. So they send some people back to his hometown, and they discover, and I'll use liberal uses of finger quotes here, they discover all of this proposed impropriety. And they start trying to follow him around, and they start accusing him of all this really, really wicked stuff. Like lots of orgies. They say that this guy has been involved in these ritualistic kind of demonic orgies. They say at one point he raped a nun. They say that he has all of this sort of black magical power, which they don't really believe, but they're trying to basically cast this guy as some sort of demoniac. Wow, how did you get these documents so fresh that the ink was still wet? I don't know, we just made copies. So they bring all of this stuff to Alexandra and Nicholas, and they go, look, we found all of these reports. And the Tsar and the Tsarina go, take that garbage away. We know what you're trying to do. You don't believe in him. You're trying to smear his name. Take all that garbage away. Don't do this again. And that is sort of when Rasputin makes it. So this is like 1908, 1909. And for about the next decade, Rasputin is almost, he's almost the central figure of the court. And in a certain way, he even overshadows the Tsar, because Nicholas II, while being a decent guy, was really overwhelmed. And most of the time, he was kind of a quiet dude. When he did have to act, he tended to overact. And here's Rasputin running around doing all of these things in the background, right? Fake it till you make it. Yes. What we need is a court jester. That's what we needed. Yeah. Except what we got was this weird crazy monk dude from the steppes of Siberia that wasn't really doing anything except for what he wanted. Which, by the way, brings us to the Renegades of Monk, our title. Which, by the way, I hope everybody knows is a pun on, or not a pun, but a play on the title Renegades of Funk, which some people might realize is a cover by Rage Against the Machine. The original song, of course, by Afrika Bambaataa and the Soul Sonic Force. If you do not know who Afrika Bambaataa is, you should totally check it out. Check him out, check his music out. Really cool rap stuff from the electronica age when everybody was starting to sample stuff and use synthesizers. Good times. You never knew it was covered. So yeah, the Rage Against the Machine CD Renegades is all cover songs. They didn't write any of that stuff. Cave Geek. Cave is the one that actually requested this particular stream. So this is his viewer request stream. People, it's like they see each other across the room and they're running in slow motion to fly into each other's arms or something. I'm glad you guys are already acquainted. So anyway, he gets promoted to basically special advisor to the Tsar. And he gets involved in all of the family dealings. So I don't think I need to give a warning ahead of time, but I will say that this is probably one of the freakiest pictures of the entire batch. Hey, Yamartest. We are talking about Rasputin. And this is Rasputin in question with Alexandra the Tsarina, the 5 girls, and Alexei. So the whole family. And Rasputin becomes really close with the family and pretty frequently hangs out and plays with the kids. This is going to lead to some pretty startling rumors, especially rumors that he was taking advantage of the Tsarina herself, Alexandra, and the 2 oldest daughters. This is completely unsubstantiated. There is no actual evidence to suggest that happened at all. This is most certainly spurious stuff that gets thrown around in the media to slander Rasputin's name. Still looks like a cult picture. Yes, it does look very much like a cult picture. That's especially horrifying with it being black and white. I know, it's a disturbing picture. But not with the family barber. No, not with the family barber at all. There is even some, and this is questionable, I don't know if this is accurate or not, but there is some evidence or a few reports that say that the kids all wore lockets with Rasputin's picture in them. This is, again, it's not definite or certain that this is the case. I could not find conclusive confirmation, so that might not be the case, but maybe. We have been visited by a puppy. Would you all like to see the puppy? Maybe we can do a little bit of free puppy appearance. Where are you going? Come and see me. Come here. Come here. Hey. Hey, come and see me. Kaylee Poo, come here. Hey, come here. Come on. There we go. There's a puppy. Oh, yes. Oh, so many puppy sugars. What you doing? Just hanging out? Oh, so many puppy sugars. What you doing? She likes having her booty scratched. We will share the puppy emote. Oh, the puppy of war. So not threatening at all. There we go. That's a good girl. What you doing? What are you up to? Oh, yep, Brittany walked past. Now it's time to go see what the other human is doing. She is a mess. Oh, Tegman, thank you for the puppy redemption. I was going to make that one for free, but if you wanted to redeem it, I'll let you do it. Let's see. You should have seen the earlier one of him with the richest teen young adult age kids. Just as bad. You've lost 2 of your babies recently. Yeah, Sci-Fi, I saw your announcements about your little rat babies. I'm so sorry to hear that. I know that pets are parts of families. Rasputin swooping in on Nikon saint statues with them necklaces. Yeah, kind of, sort of. Other people's pets are getting you through the pandemic. That's right, Kelly. Your cat also likes booty scratches. Nice, nice, nice. Ah, it's all good. She's a big mess, and she wouldn't recognize girl or boy or either way. She's just a weirdo. So, anyway, this continues on for quite some time, and after about 1912, things go even further off the rails. Now, what happens in 1912? So, in 1912, the Romanov family, so the girls and Alexei and Alexandra and Nicholas are going on a trip through Europe. They're going to go over to France. They're going to go over to Germany. They're going to go sort of tour out Europe. And on this trip, they were riding down a really rough road, and they hit a big bump. And Alexei, again, who is a hemophiliac, bounced really hard on one of the seats and developed this big hematoma on his leg. And the nobility had convinced the Romanovs to leave Rasputin behind. So they have the doctors on the trip with them, and the doctors are trying to treat Alexei, and things are going badly, and they can't make the swelling go down, they can't make the blood go down, they can't make it stop bleeding, they don't know what to do. And Alexandra gets really, really adamant, like, we need to telegram Rasputin, we need to get him, incommunicado here, we need to figure out what we need to do. And people are telling them, like, look, he's not magical, he's just a creep, like, could you stop relying on this guy so much? So she sort of goes behind the backs of the nobility, and she telegraphs her best friend, who's sort of like her confidant, lady in waiting, and gets her to telegraph Rasputin. And Rasputin then does some prayer stuff. Country road, take me home to a place far from Rasputin, Western Russia. Western Russia. Where the monks Anyway, Western Russia, hematoma, where's my monk? Bad times. Anyway, so Rasputin sneaks word through the lady-in-waiting to Alexandra and tells them to keep the doctors away from Alexei and not let them give him medicine, that he was going to pray for Alexei, and that he was going to send angels out to help. Now, there's actually some unintended wisdom here, because when Rasputin tells Alexandra to keep the doctors away and to not let them give Alexei medicine, he probably saved Alexei's life, because one of the things that they were giving him was aspirin, acetaminophen, right? Because at that time, it was not known that aspirin was a blood thinner. You do not give a blood thinner to a hemophiliac, because it makes it worse. But the little kid was in pain, right? Snowlock, that's an interesting question, and we're getting closer to that than it seems. We're actually not far from wrapping this guy up, because the next few years are all going to be easily summed up. Not quite the right chemical, but is aspirin not acetaminophen? I can't remember what it's called. What's the actual word for which one is ibuprofen acetaminophen? I can't remember. Acetaminophen is Tylenol. Oh, okay. Anyway, aspirin. You don't give aspirin to a person that's a hemophiliac because it's a blood thinner. Acetaminophen is Tylenol. I apologize. I'm not the chemist. That's KP's background. So, anyway, Alexei gets better. Salicylic acid. There we go. Thank you, Vern. He gets better. Miraculously. Turns out that if you stop giving a hemophiliac something that thins out their blood, that they get better. Yeah. So at this point in 1912, there is nothing that Rasputin could do that would shake the faith of Nicholas and Alexandra. They are sold. They are hook, line, sinker, down the rabbit hole. You could not shake their faith in him, period, at this point. He has now saved Alexei twice, where the doctors could not. Again, he's plugged in to the big guy. And this is when a lot of the really, really weird stuff starts going down. He's magic. Great for cleaning up acne, though. Okay, I was unaware of that. So, was he a genius? He didn't know that. That nobody knew that. This was completely like, nobody in anywhere on Earth knew that aspirin was a blood thinner. So, at this time in 1906, Moose, I'm sorry, in 1912. In 1912, that knowledge of farm animal came in handy, pretty much. Yeah, it was just a coincidence. It was a coincidence. So, when this happens, in his defense, he didn't need to know. Maybe God told him just to get the doctor's way. Maybe so. Maybe he was. Maybe he was plugged into the big guy, and the big guy said, hey, get those doctors away from him because they're treating him bad. You just need to pray for the kid. Maybe so. Maybe we shouldn't all be so skeptical about things. I don't know. But I can tell you some things that we should be a bit skeptical about, and that is all of the stuff that starts getting thrown at Rasputin at this point. So when the family gets back, he is their guy. He becomes basically inseparable from the ruling family, and he is giving them really bad advice. He is trying to get his acolytes put into public positions. At one point, he actually tries to convince, and does convince, Nicholas to put this guy that has an actual mental disorder in as one of the ministers of Russia. And this guy is literally mentally, like, he has a brain infection that was messing with his ability to perceive reality. But he was one of Rasputin's acolytes, and he was also rich as mess. And this is when Rasputin really starts making the bank, because he starts taking bribes. If you want to get something, you go talk to Rasputin, and he's got the ear of the Tsar and the Tsarina, so he can make anything that he wants happens. You want to get your kid in a good position? Boom. You want to get your company to get the big contract? Boom. You just bribe him. And he is very bribable. He'll take money. He'll take wine. Dude apparently drinks wine like a fish. He drinks vodka like mad. He starts having these like absolute banger rave parties where people just show up by the dozens and they party literally all night long. His luck stats are off the chart. Chew not the bark of the tree if hemophiliac thou be. Vern, that's a good truism, and you should write that one down. He has Cosmo's luck stat. Yes. Literally maxed out luck, as one does. Correct. It's not a bribe. It's a donation to the church. Nobody drinks like fish. Nobody drinks wine like fish. This is true. He drinks wine like someone that has an incredibly high alcohol tolerance that perpetually drinks multiple bottles of wine in sittings. Epic historical duel. Wine off between Churchill and Rasputin. Rasputin would drink him under the table. Are you not entertained? Is that not why you are here? Aristotle, look a there. Look a there. Hey, Aristotle, good to see you. For those of you that were not around with us on Thursday night, we raided over to Aristotle's page. Aristotle is a ethics professor in college with a PhD in philosophy and has really good chat where topics can be discussed in academic ways. You can talk about stuff. You can make really good connections between things. There are great people there that are also very well trained in philosophy. It's just a good time. It's just a good time. And if you are not already following Aristotle, you should absolutely go do so. If you like hanging out here, you will be welcome. And Lala is a frequent on the channel as well. Lala is the loving pet mascot little puppy on Aristotle's page. So if you like the pet mascot here, you will be right at home over there. So how's it going, Aristotle? How was the stream? How was things going? What was on deck for tonight's discussion in the Aristotle world? Rasputin as in the peasant. This is correct. This is the history of Bonium. Yeah, so I guess I should introduce myself for those of you that do not know me. Hello, my name is Shane McInnes. Bum ba-dum. Bum ba-dum, bum bum. Official DZ Guap. Thank you very much for that follow, and welcome to the adventure. So yeah, my name is Shane. I am a teacher. I teach history. Bum ba dum bum, bum ba dum bum bum. Yarkasm. Thank you for that follow, and welcome to the adventure. So the show is called Adventures in History. We're doing a viewer request episode right now where one of our viewers has spent viewer points and requested that we talk about Rasputin. So we are chatting about the life and times of Rasputin. I teach history at college. I have degrees in, I'm about to finish up a degree in sociology. I've got a degree in history, religion, all kinds of fun stuff. We could talk about anything that comes up. Feel free to ask questions. Feel free to be very, very involved in the chat. Or lurk if you want to. We don't really have boundaries about what we talk about as long as everybody is chill and doesn't have... you don't be a jerk, right? You know, as long as you're not a jerk, we're all good. So let me say hey to everybody, make sure that I welcome everybody in properly. So Aristotle, thank you so much for that raid. That's very generous and very kind of you to bring all of your friends over. Official DZ Guap, thanks again for the follow and welcome in. Scum from Hell, I recognize your name already. Good to see you. Who else we got here? Dum-dum-dum, dum-dum-dum. Dum-dum-dum, and Yarkasm, thank you very much. And everybody else that's come in just to hang out, welcome. Please feel free to be as involved as you would like. So, you missed the raid. Hey, Tendirios, how's it going? Hope you're doing well, my friend. Greetings to my German friends. Hey, Afid, good to see you. I'm doing really well, talking about Rasputin tonight, having a good time, and sort of, we're getting to actually what might be the good stuff. Well, I was saying hello to you because I remember that you were from Germany. I live in the States. I live in the southern part of the States. So yeah, we just got to the point where Rasputin had miraculously healed Alexei, the child heir of Russia, who was, I can show you his picture, this little kid. Bum-ba-dum. This is Alexei, the presumptive heir of Tsar Nicholas, who was this guy. Bum-ba-dum-bum-bum. Thank you so much for that follow, and welcome to the adventure. So here's Nicholas. This is his son Alexei, who was, again, the heir apparent. Alexei was a hemophiliac. He was born with hemophilia, and in 1912 he had a hemophiliac episode where the doctors were treating him with aspirin, which of course is a blood thinner, and Rasputin had communicated that they should stop giving him medicine and just let Rasputin pray for the kid. So yeah, the kid gets healed, and at this point, everybody that is in the Romanov family just becomes head over feet in love with Rasputin. This guy is just all up in the business and knows the flavor of the Kool-Aid. Da-dum-da-dum. Yes, we are talking about history indeed. The guy with the whip. Oh yeah, that's the greatest gif ever. It's a miracle. Praise wine. I mean beards. I mean Rasputin. I do love some Kool-Aid. Man, I wish I had some Kool-Aid right now. That would be awesome, wouldn't it? Well, if it wasn't the Victoria line full of hemophilia. Yes, that's actually a great point. The line of basically all of that particular version of German heritage had hemophiliac genes. And Alexandra, the Tsarina, I can show you her picture too. I've got photographs. Let me get back over there. This is Alexandra, the Tsarina. Yes, Alexei inherited the hemophilia gene, and the mother here, this is Alexandra, who was the Empress or Tsarina, really blamed herself for that. She was sort of buying into the media hype. For those of you that weren't here earlier in the stream, there were a lot of negative reports in the Russian media about Alexandra. She had 5 daughters in a row before she had Alexei, and a lot of people were saying that she had been cursed by God, that God hated her because she was wrong or evil, and that she needed to be kicked out, and God was basically punishing her by not allowing her to have a son. So then when Alexei was born with hemophilia, she of course took that upon herself and said, oh, no, it's all my fault. I can't believe I passed this horrible gene on to my kid. Those gosh darn dihybrids and Punnett squares. Who's this Mendel guy anyway? Them genes, though. Her mother had a pretty tragic backstory. Yes, the whole unfortunate story of the Romanov family is just sort of bad luck after bad luck after bad luck. So many daughters, she must be cursed. Oh, well, of course, like, that was the thing. Like, you had to be able to have a son. We're not, if we all know what happened to Henry VIII. Good old Gregor Mendel, woo! We're talking about monks, right? So might as well. So Rasputin miraculously heals this kid, and man, he just goes on what is effectively an unconstrained, reveling spree. He starts giving really bad advice. He's taking bribes to put his lackeys into government positions. He is taking bribes to get people contracts. He's basically having these really long parties where he will stay out all night long. And this is when the stories about the Russian love machine thing really come from, because he develops a bit of a harem, and he has a lot of prostitutes that he frequents. He has a lot of local women, especially young women, that he likes to invite to parties and goes to visit. Whether or not the women are married does not really seem to matter to him. in 1914, there's an assassination attempt against him, where a local peasant woman stabs him in the gut with a big dagger. But of course, he being him just sort of like gets better magically and doesn't die. But from that point, the Tsarina was so worried that somebody was going to kill him that she basically had people follow him around to be a bodyguard. But the other Russian nobility that effectively hated Rasputin sort of paid those people to keep tabs on the guy. So many daughters, yes. Didn't a bunch of them die from illness? Yes, a bunch of them did. Rasputin himself had 7 kids, and only 3 of them survived. On the other hand, they are historically useful for expansion. Yes, by making treaties and marrying them off. The more you hear of this guy, the more he sounds like a cult leader and also a horrible human being. So the horrible human being part is actually an interesting point. So remember now that one of his things is that he claims that he is a holy man. He is a spiritual leader. So he had this little mechanism that he had come up with where he said that only a person that had experienced the depths of sin could truly appreciate the salvation that God could bring. So you needed to go do the bad stuff so that you understood how much God loved you when he forgave you for doing the bad stuff. Which is super heretical in any version of the Christian church, but that's how he got away with this stuff. He was super debauched in every word of it. Sounds like a scoundrel. He was kind of a scoundrel. Again, like after 1914, there are actual Russian secret police journals where they followed this guy around for about a year and a half, keeping tabs on him. And you can actually read some of this stuff. Earlier today, I posted the translation of those in the Discord. If you all are not a member of the Discord, feel free to join. We mostly just hang out and share memes, and I share stuff that's historical that happens in the news, and we chat and have a good time. It's not super, active, or, you're not going to get like 19 million pings a day or anything like that. That's what I'm trying to say. There's something that happens every day, but I don't use the everyone command more than when I'm going live, so don't feel like you're going to get just a bajillion little pings from Discord. Anyway, so I posted the link on the Discord and the stream chat channel where you can actually go read the Russian secret police files on Rasputin, and it is some bizarre junk. Like, at one point he goes to visit this woman and her family, and when he gets to the train station, the woman gets in the carriage with Rasputin and puts all of her other family in this other carriage, so she rides back to the house with him by themselves. And then later on that night, he was seen jumping out of a window onto the roof of the veranda and meeting her behind the building and then running off into the woods for a while by themselves. It is scoundrelly stuff. And we planned trips that we're not actually going to go on. I'm eventually going to Japan. I mean, I'm eventually going to all these places. I can't really do anything right now because of the COVIDs and, of course, the financial situation. But that's a whole other world. Anyway, so by 1914, things had started happening. Big things had started happening, most notably World War I. And Rasputin had greatly encouraged the Tsar Nicholas II to stay out of World War I. Like, don't mobilize, don't get involved. If you get involved, it's going to be bad for you. But Nicholas was a bit hamstrung by the political situation and decided, we're going to get involved. By 1915, the war was going really bad for Russia. And Rasputin was getting a worse and worse name. So, for whatever reason or whatever happens, Rasputin convinces Nicholas that if Nicholas does not directly take over the military, as in go to the field and lead the military directly, that Russia will surely fail. Unfortunately, this means that Nicholas has to go remove his actual intelligent, legitimate field commander and take over himself, and it actually makes the war effort worse. Here's the thing. When Nicholas is gone, Alexandra is the one in St. Petersburg, and she's the one that's kind of running the day-to-day operations, and Rasputin is basically whispering into her ear. And the nobility of Russia get real sick of Rasputin. I'll be in Thailand starting next year, just saying. Hey, Thailand would be amazing. As I said, when his group goes to Japan, you'll be stowing away in someone's suitcase. You want to play him in D&D as a warlock pretending to be a cleric. That would be great, Cave. That'd be really, really great. Were things ever going well for Russia? Under Catherine the Great, they were going great. So bad for Russia, yes. You got a job there. Thailand was lovely. You wish you had more time to go outside the Bangkok area. Or maybe a bard? Area of effect. He did like to sing, and he did know how to play multiple instruments. He could play the piano, apparently, and could play the gramophone. And he really liked to conduct music. He liked to be sort of the guy that leads the choir, if you will. So, Kate will join you. Your character is going to be the goddess of death, and she's got his name on her list. Catherine the Great believed in vaccines, though. Too progressive. There we go.
You shall have camels, horses, an armed escort,
Provisions, desert vehicles, and tanks.
You're welcome.
To Darius, thank you so much for those bits, man. Good, much appreciated. Thanks very much. Women. Hope you had an amazing time. Enjoy the food. It's so good. Yeah, Thai food. I like Thai food from America, so I can only expect that Thai food from actual Thailand would be better. All right. So by the time 1916 rolls around, Rasputin was on the outs. Everybody hated his guts except for the Romanov family. The war was going absolutely horrible, and it was time to do something. Enter Prince Felix Yusupov. Type. So who is this guy? Well, Felix Yusupov is this guy. So good, you almost forgot your food. So Felix Yusupov was a prince. He was in the Romanov family. He was third or fourth in line. And he hated Rasputin. And so, on December 16th of 1916, they invite Rasputin over for dinner. And then they shoot him in the head. And then they throw him in the river. Now, here's where we're going to have to dispel a lot of myths. There's one big myth that says that Yusupov had all of the dinner laced with cyanide, and that they had poisoned him with this dinner. The official autopsy of Rasputin's body showed no poison. Okay. It said that after the poisoning, after him not showing anything, they shot him in the chest twice. The autopsy only shows one bullet wound, and if you really want to get gruesome, you can Google dead Rasputin, and you can see a picture of his dead body with one bullet hole right in the forehead. So the whole thing of, they poisoned him and he lived, so they shot him and he lived, and then they shot him again and he lived, and they threw him in the river and he drowned. They shot him and he died. They threw him in the river because they did not want his body to be turned into some sort of religious artifact, right? Hey man, I wasn't there. I don't know. I was not there. I do not know. But the rumors of all of this multiple attempts of murder came out after his death report. So where did the myth begin? The myth began after his death. So much less interesting. I know. And I hate to be the guy that poops on the parade, but it doesn't look like he was some Superman, right? He was just a dude that showed up for dinner and they capped him in the forehead and then threw his body into a river. Also, there was not water in his lungs, according to the official autopsy report. So he did not die by drowning. He was dead when they threw him in the river. He has a nice cut. Oh yes, Felix is very dashing. He was in line to be the throne. He was a prince. He has to be nice and dapper, right? Much less interesting. Yes, let's make up rumors. Indeed. When does he try to bring back the Elder Gods? That's later in issue 1 of Hellboy, Belly of the Beast. I thought the modern myth was that Putin is actually Rasputin. I've not heard that one, getting Shiggy with it. But also welcome, Shiggy. It's good to see you. I have not heard that, though that is a very interesting myth. Rasputin was dead quite some time before Putin was born. So, like a super ineffective and opposite character, copycat Jesus. Pretty much. Tune in next time for Shane killing Santa. Do you know that Santa Claus, as we know him, really only came about in like the early 1920s and 30s? And that for the vast majority of time, Santa actually showed up in a green coat and not a red one? Lies! The ultimate betrayal, murdering someone you invited to a dinner. Yes, indeed. Yeah. See, that's the thing. Like, we have such short historical memories. And we don't even talk about Krampus. Like, why? You thought that it was brown? Well, it depends on... If you're looking at St. Nicholas, the actual saint, you can see him in much blander colors. Brown is fairly common for anybody back then, but when you do see a particular color associated with him, it's usually green. We blame Coca-Cola. Yeah, and there's actually where a lot of it got stuck. There we go. Father Christmas wears green. Yep. And we don't even talk about Krampus. Good old Krampus. Nobody even talks about Belschnickel, though. We have to laugh at Belschnickel like it's something that Dwight Schrute invented. No, Belschnickel's for real. Well, I mean, the myth of Belschnickel is for real. Consumer Santa. Gosh dang it, Coca-Cola. First cocaine, now this? Why Coca-Cola? Why? All right, so someone asked earlier about a particular part of Rasputin having been preserved in a jar and kept as a relic, if you will. This would have been a particular male part of him. That particular piece is listed as present in the autopsy report, and at least one of those jars that claimed to have that particular part of Rasputin was investigated, and it turned out that it was a pickled sea sponge. So like the animal from the sea, a sea sponge in pickling solution. So yeah, there were not manly bits or dangly bits of Rasputin being preserved in jars through history. Those got buried with him. So, isn't the Blue Man Group owned by Pepsi? I don't actually know that. Maybe. When will the Easter Bunny join the Blue Man Group to support Pepsi? What is that what men call it these days? The sea sponge? I've never called it that. So yeah, Rasputin gets shot in the head dies, and then thrown into the river Neva. And what's weird about it is that even though Yusupov and the other conspirators who were trying to keep Rasputin's body from becoming some sort of religious relic, they could not stop people from going to the site. Like, the actual bridge that they threw Rasputin off of is still there. You can still go visit it. And people for years after Rasputin died would go to the Neva River with buckets and get water from the river and use that to bathe sick people, because the thought was that because Rasputin died in this river, that his magical healing power sort of seeped out into the water, and that the healing waters of the Neva could miraculously restore you if you were sick. Based on his lifestyle, it's likely his member rotted off long before his death. It was there in the autopsy report. So I don't think that it was rotted off. But apparently he was quite the ladies' man. And he got around quite a bit. So, all right, ladies and gents. Well, that actually wraps up my particular portion of the discussion for tonight. However, this, of course, does not mean that we have to run. If you all still have questions about this material, you are welcome to ask them. If there are tangents that we ran across that did not get properly chased down or beaten up, you are welcome to bring them back up now. And I will ask, do we have I Am Batbird? Is I Am Batbird in the chat? But we've seen his pictures and like, he was popular. It's got to be the charisma stats. Yes, it's the charisma stats. Yes, we are getting to the end of the stream. Tenderos, we have been on for almost 2 hours now. So what you got from this? So from what I got from this, just because they killed him? Yeah, well, I mean, what else should we talk about Rasputin? When he came back to life and summoned Hellboy? That actually didn't happen, by the way. What's the connection between Rasputin and Tesla? Because Iron Harvest shows Rasputin was leading a secret society bent on world domination and Tesla was opposing him, and that must be true. I know of no connection between Tesla and Rasputin. I don't think Tesla ever traveled to Russia. It's not impossible that he may have as an early man, because he came from Eastern Europe. I don't think that there is a documentation of that I've read. It's possible that he may have. I don't know. I know for a fact that Rasputin never made it to the United States, where Tesla would have been in that 1916 period of time. For those tracking, we need 39 more followers for a History of Middle-earth, and we have crossed the 100K mark on the Point Redemption. Oh yeah, so I should note, one of the things that we do as a bit of a bonus for people hanging around in the stream is this little follower goal right here. So at every 100, so the century mark on followers, we do a History of Middle-earth stream, where we come on stream here and I talk history, but we are specifically talking about the history of J.R.R. Tolkien's Middle-earth. So far, we've done 4 streams. We've done the creation of the universe, the creation of Earth. We've talked about the coming of the elves and the preparation of the Blessed Realm. And last stream, we talked about the coming of the dwarves and the kinslaying. Feanor did nothing wrong. Oh, Yarchasm. Oh, those are fighting words. Feanor did nothing wrong except for be massively prideful and get deceived by Melkor. Oh, pride. Hottest of takes. Feanor was a master craftsman, but he did have a big old temper and was very jealous of his younger brothers, and needed daddy's love. I think my charisma stat is a 4, luck is at 2. You shouldn't speedrun anything. To be honest, he was a real jerk. He was a big jerk. He when offering, when being asked to save the very trees that gave light to Middle Earth, he refused to give up his creation to benefit all. He was more interested in spurning the goodwill that had been recently bestowed upon him, even though he didn't actually have the Silmarils anyway, because Melkor had already stolen them and killed his dad. Yeah, Finwë was dead already. Yeah. I'm a giant nerd. Nerd of epic proportions. Anyway, so if you are hanging out here and you're not a follower already, and you are so inclined, by no means I never want to make anybody do something that they're not interested in. But if you want to throw a follow this way, you can add to the goal. When we get to 600 followers, we will do another History of Middle-earth. Also, if you do follow, or if you've been hanging out a little bit, you can click below your chat window. There are 2 goals that we're currently running. One of them is for a bonus History of Middle-earth stream. So when we get to 150,000 donated stream points, we will do a History of Middle-earth stream. This is separate from the follower goal. So, I mean, theoretically, we could have 2 here coming up pretty quick. We're also running a community goal for We Didn't Start the Fire. So if you've ever heard the Billy Joel song, We Didn't Start the Fire, you'll know that the lyrics are a whole ton of historical references. And that stream, when we hit that goal, is going to be me going through all of the lyrics and talking just a little bit about all of the lyrics. So that'll be a fun stream. So if you want to donate towards those, you are welcome to. There are also lots of things to do with chat points. If you've been hanging out for a little bit, or if you've given a follow, you probably have something that you can do to redeem a point redemption there. Intellect, low. Wisdom, low. Charisma, high. Luck, off the charts. They were all after his lucky charms. You mean Silmarils. Indeed. Imagine the point redemption History of Middle-earth will happen before the end of August. I would think probably so. Probably so. All right. I have asked if Batbird is present. Batbird, last chance, Batbird. Art thou around? Also, hey, DJ, I saw you pop in the chat earlier and I did not say hello to you. I apologize for not saying hello then. Hey, Mythic Acrylic, how's it going? Have we had a Tesla episode yet? No, we have not had a pure Tesla episode. However, we have had a History of Electricity episode, which featured Tesla quite a bit. And We Didn't Start the Fire hit its halfway mark. There we go. There we go. All right. So Batbird is not here, or has not spoken. So it is now time to do something. And that something is pick a new viewer request stream. And what is common is for us to take the number 2 spot from the last poll, which was the 100 Years' War, and put that on the list. Now, what I need from you all are, and I'll just take the first 3 that come up that look like things that I could probably manage to do with a little bit of leeway. So what do you all want to talk about? The history of the 1 Year War. Which 1 Year War are you talking about, KP? Because there are several. Cults. Got to get more specific. Okay, you're talking about the Universal Century. I don't think I want to do a Gundam stream quite yet. All right, so Nikola Tesla, there's one. What cults? You got to give me something more than just cults, like a specific cult. All right, Teddy Roosevelt. There we go. If you all don't get involved. Third Crusade. All right, we are wrapped up. Third Crusade is a good one. Eschatology. DJ, a little bit too late. We are... Or I don't know, was it fair to let Cave have 2? I did say I would take the first 3 that were legitimate. Okay, so we're going to have to just stop with that one. History of the tomato. Put eschatology in there. Instead of which one, Cave, I'll let you substitute one of your suggestions. Which one should we replace with eschatology? And we would need a little bit more refinement of eschatology, as into which eschatology. Or the study of, I don't know, we could probably do the history of all okay. Instead of Tesla. Someone will request that one. All right, so we'll put eschatology in there, and then I'll probably have to talk to DJ if we pick that one. So for those of you that are unfamiliar, eschatology is the study of how people think the world is going to end. So stuff like Armageddon, Ragnarok, all that fun, catastrophic stuff that kills everybody at the end of the world. The study of that is called eschatology. So I'll make sure that everybody knows that before we start voting. So here's what's going to happen. I'm going to click Start Poll. It's going to pop up on the top of your chat. And you all get to vote. Everybody gets to vote. If you are in the sound of my voice, you get to vote. You do not have to be a follower. You do not have to be a subscriber. Everybody gets to vote. All right? Here we go. Start. Okay, so you can now vote. That episode better include Idiocracy or Riot. So everybody gets to vote. Everybody gets to vote. Everybody. And I'll take a moment to sip from the water. You love apocalyptic stories? I quite like end of the world stuff. But all of these are good. Let me know if it will. It will determine your vote. Idiocracy is a movie. It is not... now, if you're talking about... eschatology is the study of how the world will end. I doubt that there's going to be any way for me to talk about Idiocracy in a topic that is already jammed full of actual historical stuff. I might reference Idiocracy quite a bit because, I mean, hey, you know, the Mayan calendar stuff. Oh yeah, well that already happened back in 2012. If you need someone who is part of an end of the world cult, you volunteer as tribute. Cave, are you part of a cult? Or are you just being very, very brisk about your was? Okay. What end of the world cult were you in? I did not know this about you, Cave. And not officially a cult, but yeah. Are you talking about the widespread particular religion, Tom Brown's Trucker School? Oh, so like prepper stuff. That sounds like a dumb topic then. Boo eschatology with hypocrisy. Moose, it's a movie. It's a movie. If you have not voted, you can still go vote. Though it's pretty clear that eschatology is going to win this unless everybody else goes and votes right now for something else. So you can still go vote. There are only 16 votes, and we've got like 29 people in the room right now. Way more specific than just prepper stuff. We can chat. Okay, history is basically a movie. Idiocracy was made as a fictional entertainment. Eschatology is what people actually have made up that they actually believe is the way that the world is actually going to end and have believed that fervently. Moose is basically a troll. I understand that he's at least a little bit poking at me. I will still argue with it at least a little bit. We have a president who was in the World Wrestling. Technically, that was the WWF. He was not actually in the WWE. He was in the WWF. And that's important. That's not really important. Oh, goodness gracious. All right, so eschatology it is. And there's a lot of material there. So I am probably going to have to chat a little bit with DJ off stream to kind of narrow down exactly what she wanted. Tuna, you made it, and we're ending like right about now. So Third Crusade is going to hang around, and it will be on the next poll that we run. So if you voted for Third Crusade, it'll be around again. And if you hang out in the next viewer request stream, you can request the next stream, right? So everybody gets a chance to come in and say something. Everybody gets a chance to vote. The end is near. I might have to make a song title off of Phoebe Bridgers. I Know the End. If you don't know who Phoebe Bridgers is, you should go check out her music. She's really good. Shouldn't we do the Crusades in order, or does their order not matter so much? The Third Crusade is... I mean, I could do any of them individually. I could do the Crusades as a whole. There's enough information that we could do all of that stuff, however it came at us. All right. So anybody else want to do any point redemptions? Anybody want to ask any questions? Anybody want to bring up any topics or anything like that? Otherwise, we are about to go hit the raid button, and I know where we are going to go. Anybody? We'll all go to... We'll eventually get to all 3 in Adventures in History. Yes, it'll be many streams from now. How many points to redeem a stream story? If you want to pick a stream yourself, it's 10,000 points for the first one and 20k for the second. So I know some people are coming up on that. You're close. All right. So we are going to continue the thought experiment. We are going to go raid Tayo Inoue, who is a mathematician who does a mathematics stream where he talks about math and math formulas and math concepts. So we're going to go give him a raid. He has been very, very generous and raided us a couple of times. So we're going to return the favor and go raid him. So for everybody, our raid call is the word adventure, and you can throw in lots of exclamation points or do so in all caps or something that looks like adventure. And if you have those oh so lovely adventure hat emotes, you can throw those into the chat as well when we get there. Thanks everybody so much. I always love these viewer request streams. I never really know where they're going to go when I get started. I'm glad everybody enjoys them. It's been a really good time. Thank you again, Aristotle, if you're still out there for the big raid. Welcome everybody from Aristotle's stream. If this is your first time in, I hope you had a good experience, and I hope you'll come back next time. The worst thing is just if you are interested in history and ask someone about it, they usually get completely wrong. There's a lot of that out there. I didn't realize at the moment I got the blue eyes, blonde hair. I thought he was looking right all the way. Sorry, you only had the puppy emote. That's okay. That's all good. Watching tons of nuclear disaster stories after the last one. Yeah. All right, everybody. Thanks so much. Hope you're having a great one. Have a good time. The next time you'll see me, Thursday, 1900 Central Standard Time. We're talking about Parthia and the collapse of Parthia. It'll be a good one. So see you around. You all have a good one. Make sure to show Tayo Inoue some love. Take it easy.